Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Qualified Podcast. With me today is Danny and Daniel, or Dan Squared, with Scrub Squad out of Maryland. They started as a carpet cleaning business, but have evolved into adding more services like home cleaning. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story with everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. We're excited to be here. You guys have been a great asset to us, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Guys, introduce yourselves a little bit. Tell us how you guys know each other and a little bit of background.
Sure. So I'll start off here. My name's Danny. I met the other Dan here very early in life. I was in kindergarten. He was in first grade. Our moms were best friends growing up our entire lives. Naturally, I've known him for 22 years now. We both kind of went off, did our separate things as, we got older into our teens, different schools, got our own career paths. I worked construction. Dan went off and did his college and, went off and we did different things. And we kind of regrouped. He married one of my best friends, about 2 years ago. And he's been back in my life for a really long time. And he came to me not that long ago and, said, "Hey, I have this opportunity. I'd like you to come out and help me with it." And I was all for it. I was all ready to kind of venture out into entrepreneurship and give it a shot. And I looked up to Dan for a long time and wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. So that's how I got here to where we are today.
Excellent. Anything to add?
Yeah, we were kind of in different points in our lives. I was working career with a fire alarm manufacturer. Danny was doing his thing, and we just kind of decided that we were more capable than that. And I came to Danny, and we kind of took it from there and got the ball rolling. And that's kind of how Scrub Squad, came to be in the beginning. I started off as just a carpet cleaning service. Originally, it was actually myself and my father doing it. Then Danny came on board, and so we started off very small, just about as small as you can.
I love hearing about friends growing up and later on in life reconnecting or staying connected this whole time, and then having that aha moment realization of let's do something more and let's do it together, and grow it together. Because it happens all the time, and it just those feel good stories that just make others believe that they don't have to do it alone, and just find your best friend and go from there.
Absolutely.
Completely agree.
You guys born and raised in Maryland, or did you move there later on in life?
Yeah, both of us were. Yeah, we've, our business is located out of Halethorpe here, kind of in the middle of Maryland. Yeah, both of us were born and raised here. You spent some time out of state, right? Didn't you?
Yeah, I had a quick stint in South Carolina for a little bit, but then that was right after high school. Came right back, and we've always lived pretty much within a 2-minute drive of each other ever since we were kids, regardless of where we moved around. But it's always local.
When you guys were younger, at the playground, wherever, talking, did you ever think like, hey, this is something that we're going to do when we're older, or did one of you like have, I'm going to be a firefighter, or I'm going to be an astronaut or something like that? Did you guys ever talk about owning a business?
Well, to be honest with you, it's funny you bring that up. I was just talking to my wife, his best friend, the other day. And I was just kind of telling her how crazy it was that, we knew each other from such a young age, ended up doing our own thing. And I was talking to her, and I was like, it's kind of, one of those things that's just beautifully random that he was willing to, kind of, take on the risk with me and join up with me. And here we are years later, coming from completely different paths in the middle there, best friends just, taking the bull by the horns. And, I genuinely wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And, this is only the beginning. As much as we've grown, it's, there's still a ways to go. So we got a lot of fun ahead of us.
Yeah. And to be fair, I don't know if I ever would have made the jump without Dan coming to kind of ask me to do this with him up until about 3 years ago. my entire life, I'd always said, I will never work for myself. I always want somebody signing my paychecks. I was taught about security growing up, and it's, worked construction for 10 years, always very stable. And I don't know, just about when I turned 25, I was like, I just think I can do so much more. And it was actually impeccable timing. I didn't tell anybody that. That's just something that was kind of growing inside. And Dan reached out. He was like, hey, I got this thing, and I think you'd be perfect to do it with me. And, the rest is history. Now we're here.
I love it. Anybody in your guys' family business owners that gave you tips along the way or any kind of advice?
Unfortunately, on my side, no, but him.
Absolutely. So my dad still is a business owner. He owns a plastering company. He's been in business over 40 years. So, he definitely knows how to keep, good business going. And I've learned a ton from his end. I've learned what to do and what not to do. There's pluses and minuses when you see a parent growing up owning their business. But I model a lot of the ways that, my leadership and how I want business to be ran through him. He was always a customer first. No matter what, we're going to get the job done and we're going to do it by the books. And it's always been good business, never trying to do anything in the shade or in the dark or make it all about money. He's always been very big on family and very big on his employees. So, I model it the same way.
I love that. And that's huge for business, especially when you want something to be sustained and long term. You got to have that kind of mentality, because if it's money driven, it's always a toss up with how far you can take it and how far your customer base will stick with you.
Absolutely.
You guys mentioned a little bit. I know you mentioned construction. Did any of you go to school for business? Like, talk a little bit more about your experience and background with business.
So it's funny. I actually went to school for mathematics. I got my 4-year degree, my undergrad in applied mathematics for engineering. Always had an interest in building and fixing things, but luckily that ended up being a hobby now, so I still like it. After college, I kind of just realized that I like working with people more than I did things and numbers, and I had a few years of experience with Honeywell International, managing their fire alarm division for the East Coast. And that was a very intensive job. Really taught you a lot about business, being a manufacturer's representative, kind of in the distributorship model. So it definitely learned a lot from that. One thing I can say is, no matter how similar you get, there's really not enough you can do to prepare yourself for entrepreneurship, and that's just how it is. Once you take the dive, doesn't matter how much experience you have in anything else. When it's your business, it's vastly different, and in a good way, but there's just a lot to learn.
Yeah. And on my end, I also went to school for construction management. So it's a little bit closer to that side of the hill, but it's not anything geared towards business. It helps leadership. Sure. That's great. But as far as running a business, that is, there's only one way to learn, and that's to make the mistakes of running a business wrong in the first place. So you have to make those mistakes, gather that up, and that's the best schooling you can get for it. I mean, I've had my past 10 years, I've done home improvement, I've done solar, spent some time in the electrical union, and it's all been great. I love construction. It will always be a huge part of me. But it's just, I don't enjoy the long-term goals of, I'll always be clocking in at 5. I'll always be getting out at 2, and I'll be doing that till my body's 65. And, that's all I had to look forward to. I just feel like there's so much better time to be spent doing other things that, really equates to how much work you put into it, because that's what we do. It's all work, and it's all for a better outcome in the end there. So, it's nothing could prepare you for it, but the only way to do it is just dive in. You got to dive in all the way.
Absolutely. Going now towards more the initial start of Scrub Squad. When did you guys first come up with the idea and kind of the beginning of that?
Well, it was really only a couple of years ago. To be frank with you, the whole idea in the beginning was to pick a business model that was low enough overhead that everything really boiled down to revenue and labor. you're always going to have chemical costs in there, little stuff here and there, equipment maintenance, things like that. But our goal was to minimize that. I've always known there was a lot of success to be had, a lot of money to be made in the home services industry. And it was really just about, let's pick something that we think is scalable, and it will be easily scalable because it's simple. And that simplicity just boiled down to, let's try and minimize initial costs, let's try and minimize overhead. And what industry gives us that with the ability to easily hire and scale? And so the route that we went ended up being, first carpet and upholstery cleaning, and then eventually house cleaning as well.
So did you guys ever see anything online from any academy or like a reel or anything on TikTok to kind of get you to be like, this is another avenue, or was it something completely different?
Well, not necessarily. When we were first discussing everything and when the idea first came to be, I've had the goal of working for myself for a long time. I mean, quite honestly, in my eyes, the corporate role that I had before this was jumping spring, my piggyback into the next thing, so that I could save up, have enough of myself to go around financially, and make sure that I could dive into something for myself. And that's really what it was from the start. And when it comes to really discovering, what we wanted to do when it comes to carpet cleaning, house cleaning, nothing in specific, but, we saw success of other businesses. That's really what it is. I think there's kind of a trend, in the last maybe 4 or 5 years. I think young people, even though that these kind of businesses aren't relatively, gorgeous, on the surface, I think there's a little bit of a trend where young entrepreneurs are kind of realizing that there's still a lot of work to go around, still a lot of money to be made in home services. And in my opinion, I saw this as an opportunity to right some wrongs in the industry, whether it be overcharging or, bait and switch advertising. We do things really simple. And, so to answer your question, nothing in particular, just a lot of research that led us to.
Safe to say your inspiration was to stop working for other people and give you more out of life and having that long-term stability, right?
Sure. Absolutely. I'll let him answer as well. But yeah, certainly for myself, I mean, I've always had that goal. I definitely, I think that, to anyone listening to this, when you're putting work in every day in your life, it can be either for someone else or it can be for you. And, we're lucky enough to power through the initial struggles and all the time and the effort that it takes. And now that things are, really growing and taking off, it's starting to pay off, and we're doing it for ourselves, not for anybody else.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's kind of a yin and yang situation on my part, because I have a different view of what my springing point was for it. Being in construction, a lot of people get paid the same regardless of what they do in construction. When you don't own a company, it's very much what you do is just how much you're paid. And ever since I was young, my dad has owned his business. I've worked with him for a really long time. He, whether I liked it or not at the time, instilled an amazing work ethic in me in everything I do that has to do with work. I didn't like it when it was happening because it was tough, but I'm forever thankful that I have the work ethic that I do. Now, when I went to go move on and work in other companies, every day is 100%. You're never late. You show up early. You stay till you're done, and you just give your all every day. And what I had noticed for many years was, I'm getting the same pay and recognition as the same person next to me who is late every day, takes 10 breaks, really isn't, putting in 50% of what I put in on a daily basis. And I was just trying to figure out how I could make my ethic equate to success. Now, I could, you could always stay in your 10 years, 20 years and climb the ladder to basic management positions. But, when I was 25, 26, kind of mulling over that year where I was like, there's just something else for me. I just knew that if I could compile all that ethic into one thing and then just work as hard as I can at it, it has to equate. Because there's no chance it would fail. I mean, there's different options that might not work out as other ones, but at some point, all of that would have to amount to something. And I was ready to take that chance, and it's one of those things. Since I hadn't told anybody about it, when he came at the right time, right place. I was getting ready to do my next year in the union, and it's like, do you want to come and do this? You got to go full time. We got to kind of make the jump together, and that's what we did. And it was 100% worth it. It was very, very tough in the beginning. No business is just overnight, and you have to make a lot of sacrifices. But that's a part of it. You're not supposed to have an overnight success in business. It's not good for longevity. It's not going to teach you anything. I feel like we've done the right path, the way that we've done it, having this ramp up time, and we're seeing the success that is deserved.
Isn't that a good and kind of crazy feeling that when you were mulling over the idea of, do I stay with construction? Do I move on? Do I do something else? Daniel comes in and is like, hey, I got this idea. Why don't we work for ourselves and build something? It's kind of funny how that stuff always works out.
Yeah, I'm funny's putting it lightly. I mean, like I said, I mean, this is kind of a beautiful thing that we have here, and it's honestly it's kind of crazy. I mean, time spent apart, not really hanging out very much, not really talking. We end up reconnecting, end up still being best friends, and then end up doing this together. And not only starting it and getting past the initial failures and getting past the initial struggle, but now at the point where we're sitting here talking to you folks and recognizing success, and that's yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And I have to be completely honest, there's not many people that, even with how I was thinking for that year there, and I need to do something more, that could have came to me with that idea that I would have made that jump with. Dan's about 1-2 years older than me, but I have looked up to his success for a long time. I've always taken note of it, and I recognize that he has been there in that place, even just in his career, everything he's done. And I was like, I feel comfortable doing this because I've looked up to somebody like that. And if other people who are maybe in my position or just not with the experience of having touched success in their life, even in their day-to-day 9 to 5, I might not have made the jump. So the timing, the personnel, everything kind of just fell into place when it happened.
I love to hear it. Month and year, do you guys remember your first booking that you got?
Yes, September of, let's see here, 21, would that be? Or 20?
I believe it was September of 22. I want to say. Yeah.
Well, regardless, yes, I certainly do.
I know it was September. That was it. It was either 21 or 22. It
was September. The job itself was done by me, and my father was helping us out. We had to balancing phone calls and going out into the field, and our first booking, boy oh boy, didn't have the right equipment. Barely knew how to use it. It's just those initial funny struggles that are funny now, certainly, but when they're happening, stressful.
Not at the house, that's a tough one.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely remember that boy, I remember the first whole month. But yeah, it's amazing how things change. I mean, it's I always say, there's no playbook for any of this. Even if someone's done something very, very similar to the business that you're creating, there's no playbook. Every demographic is different. Every geography is different. Every set of equipment is different. Every piece of software is different. So you just got to dive in, make the mistakes and figure it out. And yeah, we certainly did with those first few.
You always get, I feel like when I talk to new business owners, especially the ones that, like yourself, go out and do the bookings themselves, at least in the beginning, for the most part, they had that like feeling inside where, I don't know how is this going to go? Is this going to go good? Is it going to go bad? How am I going to handle it? How do I, react to everything? And I feel like you had a little bit better having your dad there, somebody to, being a family to lean on, him being like, it's okay if anything went south. Did anything go south? Was it a great booking?
Well, sure. I mean, the first week we had a broken solution hose. We were learning enough about our equipment that we had some surprises, and yeah, sure. It was very nice. Having him around because he's honestly been a huge help to us. The entirety of the existence of this business, and it was just really nice. Having him around, try kind of keep my head straight. I only say because I was mostly in the field in the beginning, but yeah, I mean, thankful doesn't even begin. I mean, it's the whole length of this thing, between him and my father, and it's certainly needed somebody to keep my gears turning correctly, and they definitely have helped with that.
Do you remember how much you guys invested into the business when you first started?
Yeah, so the initial equipment cost, when we started on the carpet and upholstery side of things was, I guess I'll include the vehicle in there as well, a used van. Everything was probably, 10 to 15,000. Well, closer to 10, all the equipment, initial set of chemicals and, vehicle, probably closer to like 10 to 12. And yeah, it's funny. It sounds like it might be a lot more, but when you really boil down to it, and this is really for folks that are, thinking of jumping out on their own. You can make it happen. It's not as scary as it sounds. It's not going to be as much as it sounds. If you're willing to, put in the work, maybe get some used stuff, learn everything. So yeah, I mean, overhead was, the initial cost was not bad. It really wasn't. Of course, you always have that feeling after you make the jump of, oh boy, now I gotta, make up for that cost right away. But we kind of from the beginning had our minds set, and I think you did as well. That we were not going to let this die. This wasn't going to be we try it. If something messes up, it is what it is. We were going to fix every single thing and make sure that we master this because we decided we're not going anywhere. We're making this big. Even though we're starting small. And yeah, so not a ton to begin with.
And then challenges. Every business has them. You've already touched a little bit on them. What are some of the things in the beginning that you faced, and what about some things now?
So I would definitely say in the beginning it's really rounding out the processes, how to do the jobs, getting that to be, the correct technique. And this is just on the carpet end, because you would think it's just carpet cleaning. How could it be so difficult? There are so many chemicals out there that do so many different things for so many different various stains. It's insane. There's no school for it. You don't go to college for it. It's really trial and error. I mean, Dan had spent hours, weeks, so long just at home with different types of things that stain on a carpet, seeing how it extracts, and really just making it a science. That is why we are so successful, is because we can combat almost anything with very little effort. Our pre-spray will take 99% of any stain out without anything. So the process was the first huge thing to get down. The next thing, without a doubt, is getting the jobs. That's how you make a business successful, the marketing portion. We've dabbled through various ways of, how do we acquire jobs, whether it be through PPC campaigns, LSAs, social media, word of mouth. There's so many different ways to get things, but a lot of them cost a lot more than some other ones. So, it's about where do we put our marketing dollars that stretch us the farthest, which has boiled down to a literal science that is, we are constantly updating as, the marketplace updates. So that was in the beginning exactly where we needed to focus all of our time to, because once you can do the jobs and do them well, and you can have a funnel on how you get jobs and pretty much get as much as you can handle, you're only worrying about scaling at that point. So that is our initial struggles. Now it's changed completely now to where we're at this point. And like I said, we've added on house cleaning. That was just recently this year. In the beginning, we have all of our marketing down. We understand how all of our we've optimized them. Processes are great. And we did all of this same work for the house cleaning division as well. I mean, we went out there, we cleaned houses with his dad as well. We were all out there learning how to do everything, from scratch. I know people, it sounds like you should know how to clean. There are sciences to cleaning too. I mean, it is not just you get soap and water and scrub everything. It's very different. You got to optimize time, material, technique to get jobs done in a reasonable amount of time. So what we're facing and continue to face, and probably will always face, is a constant hiring struggle. You always have people in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's a contracting business. So really being able to qualify people before you bring them on, lock down what kind of experience they have and keep them. Keeping them is a huge portion. Keep the good ones and let the bad ones go early, because we have spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to keep people on with us that they were convenient, but they just didn't provide this the standard of cleanings that we would need, and it cost us in refunds and bad experiences and trying to make up with these customers that we could have ultimately avoided had we just cut the rope a little bit earlier. So that was definitely something we've learned and we'll continue to learn, but our hiring has gotten so much better. We have processes for hiring now that really eliminate a lot of it. It takes a little bit longer, but it should, because we've had a lot of our cleaners who have been with us from the very start, and they stay, the ones that understand how we work and, the processes and everything, that they stay with us for the longevity. And, we can't thank them enough. So it's a great working relationship you have to build.
Carpet cleaning is a little different. My wife just bought a little green machine. I look at the thing and I'm like, it looks simple enough, but there's a couple extra steps in there to really make sure you get the full use of it. So understandably, I can see why you would want to go out and learn it on the job or even at home with all the chemicals. Whereas house cleaning, you would think, just like you said, it's all standard, right? But you're not going to clean somebody else's home the same way you clean your own home. Some might say it's the same, but it's not. And understanding that early on will make the biggest difference when it comes to customer satisfaction and those reviews and turning them into recurring revenue, which is the biggest thing in this space.
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, piggybacking off that, it's, certainly, carpet cleaning might seem a little bit more technical. There's a little more equipment involved, a little bit more science involved, whereas house cleaning may seem simple. But it's funny. What we've learned is that, we're kind of at the point right now. And again, we started this ourselves, but now we're in the office full time. We're managing everything. We've got a couple carpet teams on the road. We've got 4 or 5 house cleaning teams on the road covering a huge portion of Maryland. And what we've realized is that house cleaning tends to be the more complicated of the service. And there's a number of reasons for that, but even if you just kind of think about it, take the average move-in or move-out cleaning or occupied deep clean, whatever it may be, simply the number of things that need to get touched in a home is actually pretty vast. They take longer. There's something that Booking Koala has really helped us with is organizing all that info in the website theme portion. I mean, we've really been able to use it to organize everything on the customer facing end to make sure that customers understand exactly what's included in everything that we offer for each kind of clean. And on the provider end for our cleaners, the ability for them to have a file section where they can check on the checklist any moment in time. Active checklists for the cleanings. Everything that it offers. It's really helped us a lot. But point is, we've been very thankful to have it because house cleaning actually ends up being pretty complicated.
Yeah, a lot of the times for the house cleaning portion, it starts in the office with me and Dan here. We're still very hands-on when it comes to all the administrative portions. We take all of the calls, whether they're intake or just customer interaction. And, you have to pre-qualify customers before you book the job down to a science. You have to tell them exactly what we do and don't touch, use the proper wording for what type of clean it is, because they will hold you to it every single time. And that is what has made us most successful in house cleaning, is basically pre-qualifying every single customer, whether it takes 5 minutes or 20 minutes on every single call, going down to every single detail about that checklist. Because when they call you back and they say something wasn't missed or something wasn't done the correct way, you have to be able to tell them, well, we went over this in the phone call. We don't move X, Y, or Z. And then it's a much easier and more confident conversation when you can really know you went through every single thing and you did the best job that you could in letting this customer know about the experience beforehand. Some of them, no matter what, have different expectations.
Pain in the butt.
You can't win them all.
No.
Some people order the service knowing they're not going to be happy with it. It happens. It's unfortunate, but we can sleep well at night knowing that we at least did the right thing in the beginning, telling them what they're going to get, and that has made the world of difference for us.
It's like a balancing act, knowing that you have this process. Your overall goal of the company is that customer satisfaction, being customer oriented, and having that process, like you said, pre-qualifying them on the phone. Once you get your answers and you give them the information about your business and what you do and don't do, ultimately, if they're not the customer for you and it doesn't align, that's fine. And you guys understand that, and the customer can now go find a company that is more aligned with them. And this helps you guys land those more 5-star reviews and turn at least home cleaning into a more recurring service. I'm sure you have some with carpet cleaning, but it's not a weekly thing that home cleaning kind of does.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really hit the nail on the head. I mean, I would say the smoother you can make the booking process, and this kind of goes, hand in hand with the entirety of your brand. Every brand, doesn't matter if you're in house cleaning, carpet cleaning, HVAC, flooring, it doesn't matter. Your brand will align with a certain demographic. It will align with a certain price range, and you actually have to learn that as quickly as possible so that when you're getting these leads in the door, you're not serving the wrong people. And that's just a fact. There are carpet cleaning companies out there who service primarily the $3 to $4 million mansions over here in Clarksville, just a few miles from us. But you know what? They don't take on anything smaller. And there's also companies that only take on apartments around us, and they want maintenance contracts. Every company does things a little differently, but the point is, yeah, I mean, you're right. The smoother you can make that process, the smoother you can make the experience easy for the customer. That will allow you to more quickly learn who your ideal customer is, and then going from there, it's easier to create recurring business and rack up those reviews for sure. You're serving the right people, and you're making sure that what you're offering is aligned with what they want, and the quicker you can do that, the better.
Yeah, and kind of adding on to what you had mentioned earlier, Michael, was, when we talk to these customers on the phone, not every customer is a customer that we should be serving. And especially in our cleaning business, a lot of people don't know whether they're getting a general house cleaning or a traditional maid service. We have flat pricing that is solely based off of a checklist. It's not hourly. Whether we stay there longer, we don't charge more. If we stay there less, we don't charge less. And we have to stick to this checklist, because when we go and we veer off that path, our contractors are doing more that they're not paid for. And some customers tend to take advantage of that. Can you clean the oven while you're here? Well, you didn't tell the office about that. Can you organize my closet? Or, things of that nature, things that an hourly service would be suited for, because they're getting compensated for the entire time they're there. But what we found very early on was, if you don't tell them exactly that, we don't do any of that. I'm sorry. It's very, very strict. if you need something that's not on this checklist, I'd have to recommend you to somebody who could help you here. But we've found it's not worth the interaction afterwards to just get the job on the books and see what happens and just kind of part ways. Every time that phone rings, it's costing us money, but in the long run, it's probably going to cost more if we take on the wrong customer base. So that's something we had to learn very early on.
Absolutely. We're going to touch a little bit on hiring later on, but really quickly, with you guys having that process, knowing how to get your ideal customer from the start to the end of that phone call, it's so much easier for you guys when you're hiring later on to be able to pass that along to the new hire and be like, hey, this is how we do things, and makes it much smoother where they're not taking on people that don't align with your company.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you actually touched on a broader picture, which is just that you can't scale without smoothing out your process. Everything has to work now in order for it to work larger. You know what I mean? So everything that we have done from the beginning has been smoothing out the process while we are imagining our business being 4, 5, 6, 7 times the size. We did that from day one. If we improve this process by doing X, Y, or Z, what will that look like when we have this many jobs or this many jobs? And what will that look like when we have this many cleaners on the road or this many? So, yeah, sure. I think that, not only smoothing out the acquisition process, customer acquisition process, but smoothing everything out, it's one of those things they always say, grow your business, but don't grow it too quickly. Make sure that you hit every nail on the head now before you take a step forward, because it'll make things easier. And sometimes slower growth is better growth. And that's kind of something that touches on there.
As long as there's growth, right?
Exactly.
This is going to kind of tie a little bit into it. Competition. How are you guys different from, let's say, Stanley Steamer, who does take pretty much everybody? Is it your processes, narrowing down your customers, or is it something else?
I think at the moment right now, it's kind of the personal relationships we have with every customer built up. Like I kind of touched on earlier, me and Dan both talk to every single customer that we come in contact with. When anything happens, they go into the field, there's a question, we're going to be talking to them again. We call them by name. It's a very personal relationship grown from the beginning. Where we're based out of, we're starting a small family-owned business. We hired the right technicians in the beginning, and all of our technicians, we have great carpet technicians that are, one, just further extensions of ourselves. They're super knowledgeable in every single aspect of carpet and upholstery cleaning. They can answer any question for a customer. They are absolutely delightful to have in anyone's home. We only have great reviews of our technicians that we send into people's houses. And that was a huge thing, because we've gotten many kind of comparisons to Stanley Steamers, and it's not saying Stanley Steamers is bad. It's saying with such a large company, it's the inconsistency. They'll have great experiences with Stanley Steamer, and they'll have not as great experiences. That's the way I would put it. And with us, it's pretty much a widely known fact that we just give the same experience every time. It is very personalized, great experience. We are super competitively priced comparatively. And that's really what separates us, is the personalness that we get with the customers. And
just to add to that, I mean, I even look at our day one versus right now, where we were tiny, now we're pretty big, and we're covering a huge area. And we're really running this thing like it should be run. And, when we talk about competition, it's just something I'd like to add in for those folks, either just jumping into business or thinking about jumping into business. But don't be afraid of competition. Number one, there's always business to go around. Number two, you can always do something differently. It's people view competition as a risk. If we're not perfect, if we're not better than them, if our price isn't lower than them, we will fail. Well, that's certainly not the case. We don't undercut every one of our competitors. We didn't do it from day one. We price things out the way it makes sense. But really, the trick, to be frank with you, is that no matter how big you get, provide the same customer service. And if that means adding somebody on who you trust to be in-house, inside on the phones, add them. Eat that cost and add them. But either way, don't skip out on customer service. Make things right if there's ever a mistake. Provide exactly the same service that you did day one when it was just you, or when it was just you and your partner, and do it the same way no matter how large you get. And you'll be fine.
Those inconsistencies are what can kill a business. So you are 100% correct with stay as consistent as possible. And if you mess up, it's fine. Own it and fix it. Move on. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Customers will understand that. And if not, do your best to make it right with that customer. And if you need to move on from them, move on. It's okay. It's that one customer will not make or break your business.
Yeah. And to be fair, with such a high volume of jobs we're doing every day on, both aspects, the carpet and the house cleaning portion, a really big thing to mitigate that, because statistically, having so many jobs, you're going to run into those issues no matter what. No matter how good of a business you are, someone's going to be having a bad day somewhere. You have to be able to take it on the chin every time. It's worst comes to worst. You cannot talk somebody out of a situation. You cannot pre-qualify them. You over-qualify them. Whatever you do, they're just unhappy with something that is out of your hands, because you should be able to fix anything that's in your hands. They're just unhappy because a set-in stain could not come out, even though we told them there's a good chance it can't come out. You just have to, we just make it right no matter what, and some of those you just have to take on the chin. And that's how, we've continued to just, keep the reputation that we have.
Have you guys ever had to make a tough decision that's turned out to be a significant impact on the business?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one that would come to mind is in our house cleaning portion. When we first started, we had hired a lot of teams on. One team specifically was able to take on a lot of jobs for us. They were with us for many months, and we relied on them to take the volume. Our volume was growing very fast. We had a couple teams in the row, but this team, they would accept the jobs no matter what, any time of the day, we knew. But gradually we were realizing that this was one of those times where, when I spoke about before, where, you give refunds based on performance, it was happening a lot. We were starting to go into the thousands range, multiple thousands. And we had to really make a decision here. Are we comfortable how this is going, or do we need to cut them and then rehire? Rehiring is very hard, especially for a role where somebody's doing 3 jobs every day throughout the week. That's a huge hole you build up in your company. Like, you will open up if you let them go. And ultimately, we made the decision to let them go and, hire at the same time. And hiring just proved to be very difficult. It was really, we were stretching our remaining teams pretty thin at that point to cover all the volume we were still getting. We had to dial back some of our advertising until we could figure out, getting a new team back on. But ultimately, we made that decision a month or two prior, and it has worked out in the long run. We got a team back that, can provide the same consistency, none of the same issues, So when you're kind of looking at your months end goals here, we're not giving thousands of dollars back. And that's made a huge difference. So knowing that we wouldn't have the coverage after that, letting that team go, if you didn't have a good backup plan, or you didn't believe you'd be able to hire somebody, that would be a huge detriment. So ultimately it was for the best, but it made a huge impact at the time because it was not a quick hire. So that would probably be, to date, the biggest impact we've had to deal with.
Yeah, sure. And just to piggyback on that, I'd probably say, in the moment, by the way, that was a very huge detriment for us, just because we were on the cusp of our months really getting to a point where everything made sense for both of us, and that month in particular, we're really on a growth phase there, and removing that team immediately unassigned, 13 to 15 jobs right on our calendar on Booking Koala during the next 2 weeks, and we had nobody to fill them, and we had to jump in and say, okay, we need somebody new in here right now, and gave a very, very hectic couple weeks. But if something's wrong in your business, you got to fix it right away. Don't bite the bullet for too long. Don't suffer when you don't need to. Even though things might be tough, you got to make those tough calls.
Don't procrastinate. Just
Sure.
rip the Band-Aid
It won't
off,
get
get it
better.
over with.
Things
And
won't get better on their own. You have to
Right.
make the turn. They will only get worse and snowball. Like in that situation, we let it. It started out as small things, and they just got larger and larger, and higher percentage chance of it not turning out well. It's on us. You're supposed to correct these bad jobs, bad standards not being met immediately, and instead we would just eat the cost and let things keep going because that was easier. You realize it's hurting us more in the long run than just making that hard decision and just hiring somebody who's not going to do that. So that is definitely one of the best and toughest things we had to learn along the way.
Sure.
leadership style. Do you guys have similar leadership styles or a little bit different but match?
I would say that we complement one another's styles. I'm a little bit more of on a daily basis, even just in terms of managing checklist items that we have to do. I mean, I'm a little bit more on the back end. He's a little bit more front facing. When it comes to big picture, I'm kind of constantly thinking about that big picture and the end number and data, and he's really, really good at kind of reminding us that we got to focus on the front facing things too. And so I think we have management styles that complement one another. I think that both of us do a really good job of treating our existing teams really well, the ones that you want to keep, treating our customers really well, but we do it in different ways. I think that whether you want to call it a good guy, bad guy, however you want to go about it, but we we definitely have differing styles, but they certainly complement each other.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's perfectly said like that. Dan knows everything on the back end that I wouldn't be able to even start with, when it comes to advertising, how to master Google and all of our software. And I'm on the front end kind of dealing with everyday day-to-day processes, scheduling, dealing with our contractors, dealing with the customers. Not that we both don't kind of do both of the things. It's just we gravitate towards one side of the spectrum. But I would say my leadership style is more geared towards experience. I've had the opportunity to work for a ton of different bosses, a ton of different managers, and I've just kind of seen more or less what hasn't worked in the past for them and what, employees talk about, behind closed doors, and been a part of those conversations. And I try to lead by, hey, I've been there. I've done that. I've done exactly what you're doing. We're on the same page here. How do we just make this better? If something's falling short, what do you need from me? That, do you need me to show you? Do you need me to work alongside of me so I can show you how I would do it? Can I help you get there? And if we can't, going on the good guy, bad guy, Dan's always on the good guy side. I'm not afraid to be stern coming from construction. There's no time to waste on people that aren't going to want better for themselves. I'm very quick to, if you guys don't want this for yourselves, we have to protect our business first. And if you're going to be a detriment to that, I'd rather just cut it here and move on from there. So I definitely go from experience and try to be on the same level as everybody that we manage. But if it's not working, it's not working. You just have to be able to recognize that early on.
What do you guys do to create and keep a positive company culture with everybody?
Well, I mean, Personally, I think one thing that makes me very proud is that our existing teams that are with us, that have been with us for a while, both sides of the business have you know out of nowhere said multiple times that they love working for us, and I think that one of those reasons is that we don't leave anybody high and dry. It's not just customers, but it's employees, it's contractors. We do not just send you out to a job, leave you hanging. We don't leave you to pick up the mess if something's off. We are very hands-on all of the time from day one, again, until now. With all these teams on the road and all these jobs going on, you can't leave anybody out to dry. Make sure, number one, that your people are paid what they're worth. You can run a business two different ways. You can make as much money as possible right now, sure, but you can also forge the business into something that's going to grow. Not be greedy. Make sure that everybody gets paid what they're worth, and treat them well, and those people will stick with you. That's kind of what I think that we do on a daily basis. We treat our people right.
I completely agree. It's really, it falls back into the hiring. You hire right the first time, and you want to keep those people you spent so long hiring for and trying to find. And the way we explain to all of our teams is we are here to make your job physically as easy as possible. All we need you to do is go in, clean these houses, clean these carpets. We will handle any other discrepancy. If you're ever comfortable in a situation, you ever feel like this job is going to take longer, the way that we do it, we pay based on the size of the job. It's not an hourly rate as a contractor. If a job is just dirty and we didn't get a chance to see it and it takes longer, we don't leave our teams high and dry. We'll make the connection. We'll give them their time's worth. If customers are being rude, customers are making them uncomfortable, we're the first to call the customer. We've physically gone to houses to de-escalate situations. It's just, we are the backbone that they can lean on in that sense. And we've felt that it's been very much appreciated all across the board.
You just kind of threw me off a little bit. You've gone to a house to de-escalate between one of your employees and a customer.
Yeah. Actually, the first one that we ever had was on the carpet cleaning side of things. And
Wait, there's multiple.
Well, not a lot, but, certainly you do as many jobs as we do. And, you're going to run into just, those people. You're just going to run into the kind of people that, just like to cause trouble. I mean, they're out there. It's not the end of the world. Not every customer is going to be a great customer. Some folks are just not nice and not reasonable. So, but yeah, I mean, this first one, was a heck of a day. I mean, our carpet team called me, uncomfortable. This gentleman was yelling at them. Very, very uncomfortable, kind of watching over their shoulder, yelling at them. It was pretty rough, yeah. And so, we showed up, we talked to him, de-escalated the situation. We ended up still serving him, which, quite honestly, we probably should have de-escalated all the way to us, exiting the building. But things calmed down. We figured it out. It was what it was. But yeah, sure. I mean, you talk about being hands-on. We certainly have been, quite literally in person at whatever we need to be.
And sometimes a de-escalation isn't, getting in between a customer and, one of our contractors and, putting them apart so they don't, altercate. Sometimes it's just going in there. Hey, I'm the owner here. I just wanted to check on my guys, see how they're doing for you. Is there anything that, we can do extra, really just kind of show face as an owner, let them know that, we really care about quality, throw in something extra if it's needed. It's all about, again, making that customer experience 100%. And sometimes it's one of those things you take on the chin, you go there, you smile. A lot of the times it's hard for a contractor who's in that position, kind of cornered as they're trying to work with somebody constantly, looking over their shoulder, just doing small passive aggressive acts. And you just need that extra step. And if the job's close enough and if we're available, we're not afraid to go in there and just be that help that can, make the job finish out the right way.
Well, I think you just answered my next question, which was how do you guys handle setbacks? And I mean, that's as clear as day. Perfectly the way to handle it. I mean, even if it's not, like you said, de-escalating from stopping a physical altercation and removing the team, it's just, like you said, going in and popping by and saying, I'm here to check in, see how they're doing, see how you're liking the service, and kind of having that get into the customer's head to be like, okay, maybe this is something like I'll back off a little bit more.
Sure. And I think it stretches even further. I mean, Danny and I both have used the term before, quite literally, let's get ahead of this. We use that term all the time because sometimes it's worth, even when a cleaner might text us something about their job and we think they mean one thing, but then he might think they mean something else. And he goes, well, did they mean that the customer said something about the toilet not being clean or said something about the stain not? Even if we don't know, we get ahead of it. We call the customer. A lot of times it's absolutely nothing. And they're almost wondering why we called, but we call the customer. Hey, team just let us know they're in the middle of working. How are things going? What's going on? If there is an issue, it comes up, we figure it out, but we get ahead of it, and that's a phrase that we quite literally use all the time.
And a really good example of that, especially on the cleaning side, is, we're very communicative with all of our teams. They'll send us pictures throughout the jobs. They'll let us know, hey, this isn't cleaning super well. The times in the bathrooms, poor services hold damage in them, and it may look like dirt and grime, but it's engraved into it and it's not coming out. Well, instead of us knowing what can possibly happen, which has happened in the past, if it goes left unsaid, you continue the cleaning, you leave, customer calls you in a frantic, they didn't clean the sink the right way. Well, instead of that, while the cleaner is still there, we'll call the customer, hey, the cleaner just showed me a picture of the sink and let me know that it's actually not dirt and grime. They've scrubbed it as with many different chemicals, as many techniques as we can. It's actually damage to your sink at this point, and we might have to recommend a different service to get that back up to par. And they'll be very thankful that before they have to discover it, they were told about it ahead of time. They're not feeling resentment that we forgot something. They understand that maybe it's not clean, and it sets that expectation. Amazingly, if you do it before they have the time to see it and start building up that negative attitude towards it before they call us and ultimately yell at us. So, that's just how it goes down sometimes. So that's definitely a good way to go about it.
Avoid getting yelled at all costs.
That's the last thing we want. It happens, and it will. And, sometimes you got to put the phone down, let them go off for about the 5 minutes that they're going to, let them get it all out, and, then just make it better. Whatever it takes, just resolve the issue. Just sometimes, like I said, we take it on the chin whenever we have to. It's not all the time. We provide a great service, and it's very far and few in between, but you got to be able to do it whenever you need to.
For sure. Work-life balance. How do you guys work on maintaining a healthy relationship with that?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's an interesting question that I think, again, is actually a lot broader than we might think. Any entrepreneurs, future entrepreneurs, people debating about it, people who just opened their business. I think and I experienced this as well, being a new entrepreneur, a couple years ago when we first started. But I would say that you're going to hear a lot of conflicting information about how healthy it is to maintain a work-life balance. Make sure you keep your head straight. Make sure and then you're going to have the other side of the coin, which is all the hardcore entrepreneurs that say, live this, live this, live this. And I think it's somewhere in between, to be honest with you. I think that in the beginning of your business, you do have to be okay with putting everything you've got into it. And to be completely frank with you, this is meant to be a positive thing, keep in mind. But to be frank with you, that means upsetting some people sometimes. It means being unavailable, whether it be friends or your household or relationships, whatever it is. But, I think that, maybe you need to do a little preparing for the people in your life about it. But if you want success and you want to get to that point, it's going to take a lot of your time and a lot of your effort, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's perfectly fine. That's what entrepreneurship is about. Do it now so that when things get better, they get a lot better. And I think that in the beginning, I mean, good Lord, I certainly, in the field, constantly late hours fixing equipment, you know, hours just studying marketing material and how Google works and, the best software to use. And, we've finally landed on all the right stuff. But, the point is, it's, you're going to live it for a little while. But if you do it now, it should get better quickly, and now most of our days are pretty fantastic. We learned how to manage everything the right way. We're in the office. We're getting things done. Nothing is super stressful. We know how to handle every situation, and we're certainly not breaking our backs, and things are looking up. And that's what happens, if you put that initial effort in. So yeah, that's the best I can give.
I think that the work-life balance it's something that you work towards being able to have as an entrepreneur. It's a huge wake-up call when you leave a 9 to 5 where you get to leave the job and then not have to think about it until you go in the next day. And then when Friday comes around, you get your 2 days and, you don't have to think about work at all in those stages. It never really shuts off here. It probably won't ever, but I know in the very early days, still now, it's constantly something you think about. You're constantly have to make yourself available every single day of the week, whether it's optimizing the business, whether it's being available for customers, contractors. There's no off day. Even when things are slower, there's still things to be done. Subconsciously, you'll always be thinking about it. So it's hard to just turn your brain off to do things like go on vacation or go out to social gatherings, because if you have to be available, you'll have to step out. Or if you're on vacation, you can't not have your phone on you. It's something we've both dealt with in the past couple of years, trying to maintain that work-life balance. It's just some things you do have to sacrifice, and we've agreed it's worth it in the end. You just have to put your nose down and get there at first. But, you just have to live it for a while. That's the best way to put it. You're going towards a goal where you don't have to do that, and you set all the processes and have the right people in place. But that is an achievement when you get there. That's what you're striving for.
Especially in the beginning. It's always hardest in the beginning. Is it fair to say a little bit easier for you guys because there's 2 of you, so you split roles in that sense?
Yeah, I don't know about easier. I would say that, me and Danny having each other for this is I'm incredibly thankful, because if I was doing this all by myself, at the very least, it would go a heck of a lot slower. Danny and I both work very hard every day. We certainly have for the last year and change to get to this point. I think it depends on what your goals are. We right now could keep this thing exactly where it is. ScrubSquads could, stay the same size. This amount, we could do this many jobs forever if we wanted to. But our goals are not that. Our goals are much larger. We've, we've grown this thing from a couple jobs a week to 30, a week in absolutely no time. And we really are not going to take our foot off the gas anytime soon. Certainly there's improvements. When you get used to things, your days get easier. You don't feel like you're sacrificing as much as time goes on. Absolutely. But, in terms of easier, I'd say that, we still put the same effort in because our goals aren't quite reached yet, Yeah,
the way I would describe it is you have somebody else to pull your hair out with. You're not alone in the struggle portion. If you're to do this by yourself, it could overwhelm and swallow you so fast. But at this, you have somebody who knows exactly what you're going through, exactly in the same playing field. You can't just go and have this conversation about, business or what you're going through struggle wise with anyone, because they don't understand. They can't relate. It's
There's somebody
difficult.
to lean on.
And it's, it really, it like you said, it doesn't get easier, but having somebody going through those same things just mean if you're both going nuts all the time and you're put in those situations, you're always growing from it. It is we've had these days where it's a little bit slower and like, this feels really weird. We need to go ahead and start talking about the next phase here, and then we have those days where the phone won't stop ringing every 5 minutes. And that is good to have two people there because we can't get it fast enough. So easier isn't the word, but it's not supposed to be easy. It's good to have somebody who can share all the good and bad experiences with.
For sure. Going towards hiring, do you guys have employees or contractors?
We do a contractor-based system for both sides. Yeah, absolutely. We just kind of find it easier to keep together on the books, and then manage the ins and outs because, like I said in the beginning, someone always has their foot coming in and someone always has their foot going out. Whether we like it or not, that is going to be a process that is ongoing forever. It's just with the cleaning businesses, it's something you're constantly involved with.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that too. I mean, it's, I think that when people are specifically about cleaning businesses, there's kind of always a debate, contractors, in-house employees, whatever it may be. There's actually benefits to going the contractor route. I mean, some of our contractors are basically full-time with us. They don't really, it's us. That this is the work that they have, and it's full-time. And, I think that sometimes, especially in the cleaning business, people do things differently. And as long as the results are what are still up to your standards as a business, I think that, especially in a complicated business like house cleaning, for example, 10 different chemicals can do a very similar job. 10 different materials can rub away the same stain. I think it's okay. I think it's actually a good thing to have contractors who, again, a lot of our teams understand that, we are there, they are with us basically full time, but they're technically still contractors because, they can do things the way that they are used to and the way they like. But it's been great.
And how many do you guys have?
Right now we have 5 cleaning teams on the road, and then we have a couple carpet cleaning teams as well. So total number 10, something like that. Yeah,
between 10 and 14.
Teams of
like
2 or
it's always
teams of
door,
3?
So our house cleaning portions are teams of 2, as well as actually the carpets. Sometimes we have a team of 3 for house cleaning, but it's at least 2 for every team.
And where do you guys primarily focus your hiring?
So we, it's pretty much everything online. We do Indeed, we do social medias, word of mouth. We're always asking if anybody's knows somebody, if someone always knows somebody. But we've probably found the most success off of Indeed, to be honest, because it's a incoming funnel. They want the work. So it's good. We get to reach out to them. We have a process that we go by. We have them fill out an application on our website that goes into pretty strict detail to kind of let them know exactly how it's going to be working with us just on the application, and then set an interview up. We have a Zoom interview with them. We really just hammer down what this position is, what we're striving for, what we want. We want experienced cleaners who we don't have to teach. That's just not how our model is. That's how we've been able to grow so quickly, is we just bring on the right people who have experience with this. And the big thing with our hiring funnel that we kind of added on at the end, once we have them sign over all their paperwork, their W-9, we made a very, very detailed subcontractor agreement, which spells out our complete working relationship, kind of saying what happens when customers aren't happy. What do you have to go back? What happens when we have to give a refund? Who's responsible for what? Everything is outlined very clear, and we are very, very, very persistent on getting a confirmation that our contractors have read the entire agreement and are okay with everything. And if they have any questions, of course, we're able to go over everything. Do they always read it? Sometimes no. But, you can't. The best way to really solidify if someone was the best candidate for you is we'll hire them on, and then the first 3 jobs we will visit at the very end. We'll tell them, send us a 30-minute, we're about to finish it up in 30 minutes. We'll drive over, we'll meet them in person for the first time. It's not completely remote. And then, we'll look over the work. I'll bring the checklist out. I'm like, hey, This is our checklist. I just want to make sure you guys hit everything, make sure you guys don't have any questions about our processes and what our expectations are. If we see anything that's missed, we get to have the conversation with them before the customer does, which is super important for us. And then, we really get a good idea of the level of experience, whether it's what they've told us or what it actually is for cleaning. And then we get to see if it's a good fit or not before we start giving them reoccurring customers or very large jobs that mean a lot to us. So that way, that's the best way we've tuned the hiring.
Do you guys utilize the hiring portion inside your Booking Koala account?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's, one of the many things that has catalyzed our growth, substantially. But yes, absolutely we do. Yeah, we use the hiring funnel. We use the automations that come with it. We have everything set up that no matter where we source our applicants from on both sides of the business, they all come through Booking Koala. So they all fill out an initial hiring form. They all get put into a funnel. They go through a couple phases automated where they fill out, little quiz, little questionnaire. By the time they show up in our prospect section there, we really know everything we need to know, and we can read off everything they've put in. Like we said, it's actually it's really good to be detailed in your hiring process and make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. So, doing it this way, we get to see all the answers to all the questions, and if there's anything we don't like, well, they're not the answer, and it's okay. We'll call them and say, we'll keep you in mind for later, if just in case. But yeah, it's done wonders for the process. Absolutely.
I love to hear it. What's an automatic red flag on an application for you guys?
It would be having no cleaning experience. It kind of, because, when you have Indeed, if you just search up the job position you're looking for, a lot of people are not great at making resumes, or they use a very basic one that isn't updated. But that's the only thing that we have to go off of when we have an application in. So if we go through the application and there's 0 items on there about cleaning, to be honest, it doesn't get a second look. We need to know that you have had some sort of experience cleaning, and we're looking for 3-4 plus years, because this is, we said, we're not here to teach how to clean. We're here to kind of supplement and get these contractors as many jobs as they can handle. So it's not about cleaning. It's about making sure that they know how to clean to our standards. This is what we're looking for. And if you have nothing about cleaning on your resume, it's not worth a call back in our eyes.
Yeah, I like to describe us as kind of the A League. There's a lot of cleaners that can go a lot of different places and do work, but to be quite frank with you, we're kind of the A League. We would like to hire the best of the best because we also pay very well. We take care of our cleaners, and that's kind of how we have it set up. We want the best of the best on our team, and it keeps our business running smooth, and we treat them well in the process.
I don't know if you guys mentioned this earlier. Are you always hiring, or do you pause and resume later?
We are indeed always hiring. And this comes from experience because you actually never know when somebody is going to leave. No matter how good of your relationship you have with your contractors, in the end, they are contractors and they have every right to just kind of change work or change direction. Life happens. There's things that come up where they have to make a sudden, turn in direction just because of their personal life. And, especially starting out, when you have 2 teams, for example, when we were doing our first round of hiring, kind of growing the cleaning side of our business, if one leaves, 50% of your capacity is gone. And you're still getting the same amount of calls as when you had those 2 teams, and you don't have any coverage for them. At that point, you have to start telling people, we don't have any availability. That's a huge detriment to the business. So we'd always rather have more teams that are super overqualified than be in a position where we have to tell customers no because we don't have enough cleaners on the road. You never know when you're going to get that next superstar clean team, but you have to always be hiring to find them, to be honest.
And even if they don't leave, it could happen that you have an uptick or a great campaign in marketing, and you just start getting so many bookings now that your main core is a little bit more bogged down and you need to bring somebody on. So that's also a good reason to always be hiring.
Yeah,
Sure.
with cleaning, it's actually compounding a lot of the times, because we always have our move in, move out cleans and our one-time cleans, but as you grow reoccurring cleanings, those are just blocked out spots on a schedule now for that team. So, and they just compound over time because your goal is to have them stay with you for as long as possible. We basically have metrics that we've set in place to know when it's time that we need to bring somebody else on. When we're doing a certain amount of jobs a week, when it grows in certain increments, that's really, all right, we have to get another one on there because we're starting to get stretched a little thin. We want to be comfortable when customer calls us, where can we put them on the schedule?
Marketing side, what are you guys currently doing for marketing?
We've gone through, we've been through the ringer trying to figure it out. And, what we have landed on, to be frank with you, and I think, big picture wise, just to give you some idea of what goes through our heads with this business, I think it's more important for us to be predictable, measurable, than it is to be as profitable as possible. And what I mean is, we've tried social media, Google PPC ads, Angie's, Nextdoor, the whole 9 yards. And we've tried it all. And right now, 100% of our paid advertising budget goes to Google local service ads. And what we have found is that, yes, are you getting leads for a decent price? Sure. Are there cheaper sources? Yes. But at the end of the day, our conversion rate is good enough and it's measurable enough and predictable enough that I could guess within $100 without looking at it what our ad spend will be based on our volume over the next 2-3 months. And it's more important for us to be measurable right now than it is to be as profitable as possible. So, we like local service ads because the leads are very high intent. They are ready to book services. You get price shoppers with any source of ads that you might try, but it's certainly minimized with local service ads. I'd say the quality of leads has been fantastic. And I would say that it's much more measurable in terms of cost per lead, average cost per lead, than any other source. It's less fluctuating seasonally or, during the week at different times. And so it's very consistent, and so we've built our model around that lead cost. And so far it's worked out really well. And I'm sure in the future changes will happen. We will be large enough that we have to figure out how to get more capacity than what local service ads is providing. But to those debating about doing it, just keep in mind, you can get actually a lot more volume than you think out of local service ads. It's a very successful platform now. And right now we have 100% of our paid advertising going towards it. And then of course, free marketing via social media, everything like that as well.
What free things on social are you doing? Is it just, random posts or anything a little bit more than that?
Sure. I mean, definitely, posts, stories, reels, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Nextdoor, the whole 9 yards. And of course, we post regularly and post updates to our Google business profile because aside from reviews, Google does like to see activity on there. So hundreds and hundreds of photos, updates posted, things like that. But for the most part, that's really it. I would say on Facebook, to anybody looking for any guidance out there, definitely post to groups, join as many groups as possible and post to them. The average random post does not get much engagement, but posting to groups actually leads to, inbound leads, but it's going well.
I like that you utilize social media more, not so much for the marketing, but your brand. Having your brand on every social, whenever somebody doesn't, let's say, goes directly to your website, but just Googles your name. You're not having just your website and maybe Facebook pop up, but you're lined up and having the whole first page, potentially going into the second page of your business. And that shows customers that you're legit. you know, I hate to say more legit than somebody else, but in the eyes of a customer, if you have two businesses, one, when you Google their name, only has two things come up, and the other one has 2 pages of things come up, I, as a customer, would be going 10 out of 10 times with the one that has 2 pages worth.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think that we've done a really good job so far since the beginning. Not only do we have accounts for everything and post to them regularly, but they're also all interlinked. In our about section, in our external links, they're all linked together, and that's so Google can find them all. So you are right. I mean, when someone Googles Scrub Squad in Maryland here, it's our Google page, it's our photos, it's our Google updates, it's our Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, it's the whole 9 yards. Yeah, I think it's important to make sure that your branding is as far-reaching as possible.
Do you guys have partnerships with any other businesses?
A couple, yeah. Really mostly referral based for jobs that we can't do or that they can't do. For example, so we have certain equipment that we use that allows us to do certain kinds of jobs. Other carpet and upholstery companies have different. Kind of similar to the idea of mobile versus truck mount, things like that. Yeah, we certainly have contacts that we have great working relationships with. They send us jobs when they can't do them, and vice versa. And yeah, I mean, even on the referral side as well, for people that want related services, we've certainly built relationships with related businesses. That way, we can all help each other out.
It's pretty nice to know a lot of people in the business owning industry, regardless of what you're offering. Because if you have that personal relationship and say I have a friend who does waterproofing and they needed, they just did a job at their house. The carpets got kind of messed up. They don't have to refer their customer to a certain contractor for carpet cleaning, but they have the knowledge that they know us. They can bring us in to, do the job, and the customer doesn't have to think twice because they already made that connection. And, it's on us too, where we see everything that goes on in a home, whether why we're there is, a basement flooded and we're here to vacuum everything up and do the carpets. Well, it works both ways. We actually know a contractor who could fix this for you and then make that connection there. So, just having a wide circle of people, in the industry as well is huge.
Throughout this interview, you guys have said a bunch of things that will line up into this question, but is there anything more specific to it? And that is, what do you do to enhance your customer loyalty and generate that repeat business?
Well, to be frank with you, and it's going to sound very simple. I mean, trust me, it's going to sound very simple, and I'm sure people will roll their eyes, but you've got to provide good customer service no matter how frustrated you are, no matter if you've had a great day or a bad day, no matter if it's you on the phone or your partner or somebody else that you hire. It is more important to make things right for every customer than it is anything else in your business. And the reason I say that is because if you don't treat a customer right, and that leads to a series of 1-star Google reviews, the face of your business has plummeted. And then it doesn't matter how much you're getting your leads for. No one's going to book. It doesn't matter how many posts you have on Facebook. They're all going to see it. So, the most important thing you can do to have somebody call your business again is, no matter what kind of day you're having or your employee is having or your call center, depending on how large you are, do not sway from your customer service standards. We're family owned, and even as we grow, we still make sure people know that, because even though we're doing 30, 40, 50 jobs a week, we still treat every single person, they are not a number, they're still a customer, and that's very, very important.
I love that. Managing growth, what is your strategy for that?
I would say, obviously, again, growth is always a balance, right? You have things that are easy to scale, marketing budget, for example, add in more money, more leads pop out. I think that there's other things that are more difficult, but when it comes to managing our growth, I would say that just keep an eye on the things that change drastically the bigger you get. And what I mean by that is, where do you need to optimize your business? What is falling short as you grow? Is it your phone calls? Are you missing them now because there's too many? If that's the case, you have to figure something out. Either hire someone or not. Leads. Are you getting enough of them? You have all these people that you hired and they're ready to roll, but you're not filling their schedule. Well, spend more on marketing dollars. It's really just focusing on where the business tells you it needs help, because it's a living, breathing thing. It will tell you. You can take a bird's eye view and see where the weak points are, and you gotta tend to them. And I think that's probably the most important thing about managing growth is don't force anything. Try and grow the business. It'll tell you where it needs help, and listen to it.
And on that same side, me and Dan are both very metric motivated people, big on tangible numbers. So we often we need to hit X amount of jobs to hire X amount of teams that will equate to X amount of dollars at the end in revenue. And once we hit those, it's very easy to start seeing, all right, well, it's time to expand again. We just added another van. We started hitting our max amount of jobs on a van that we just had started this year. They do about 3 a day, and we're starting to overcompile jobs because it's time. We're just too many. So 3 a day all week is basically our number where, all right, it's time to get that number, that same extra van on the road. And we're just tangible numbers that you can reach are very good indicators on when it's time for us to keep expanding.
Revenue and money side of things. September 21 or 22, how much revenue have you guys done since you started?
Well, you know what? Instead of going totals, I'm going to put it in this way for you, because there's some numbers I haven't run for the past few months. But I'll put it this way for you: the whole first, full first year, which I believe 22, by the way, but the whole first year, best month, 6,000, in total revenue. And this is just with carpet and upholstery. I want to make it clear that, one of the things that really rocket propelled our ability to add house cleaning to our services and to basically double the capacity of our carpet side was the Book and Koala software. At the end of the day, we signed on about 6 to 8 months ago. Even our highest month then, revenue, 10, 11. We just had a $40,000
previous to signing up.
Yeah. And we just had a $40,000 month, and there's no end to it in sight. And this software allows us to grow at that rate. But in terms of totals, I'd have to run them. But think of it that way. We were coming up on netting barely anything to, in a matter of 6 to 8 months, rocket propelling this thing from 10 to 4 to 5 times that amount each month. The most previous month, about 40 and change. And that is, again, solely with myself and him running things. And we're not pulling our hair out. We have improved everything, and our days look good. And, I just don't see any end in sight.
Just backtracking, it wasn't like a crazy month we just had last month. They've steadily risen since we started about 6 to 8 months ago in increments, because, once we started adding on extra teams and being able to really quantify our schedules, it's been a steady growth every single month. We haven't had a worse month since the one before, since we've started. So, that is great indicators for the future.
Yeah, I actually ran some progressive numbers for the future, and it looks like from a couple months ago, our expected 12-month year over year. So from a couple months ago, our expected yearly for the trolling 12 months will be just about 750,000. So we're on point to create a basically nothing to $1 million business within a year.
I love to hear it. It's nothing makes me happier. And anything else, any other change that you've done that you can say contributed to that? Or was it solely, you think, the switch to the software and then hammering down some automation stuff and getting everything squared away within the software?
Well, I'll start. To be frank with you, again, we've had other softwares, right? We've had other booking software. We've had other, whether it's payment, hiring, it doesn't matter. This software has made us capable of creating $1 million business. It truly has, to be frank with you. There's so much scalability in it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have 5 jobs on the book for the week or 55. Software behaves the same way. It's easily scalable. I certainly would be pulling my hair out still if we didn't have some of the capabilities that the Booking Koala has. It's definitely done wonders for us.
Yeah, and I think that, to be honest, with the Booking Koala, us just getting started with it 6 to 8 months ago, everything started to happen. Everything started falling in place at that point. Our processes for carpeting and upholstery rounded out considerably. I mean, we were at top of our game. We still are, obviously, at the top of our game. We didn't have that much more to figure out on that side. So that impaired with the Booking Koala. We rounded out our processes with house cleaning. We don't have the issues we had in the beginning. Everything is just kind of falling into place. And, Booking Koala is kind of that vessel that's propelling us forward at this point with the rounded out process.
And this year, what do you guys expect? I know you said rolling, but what about start to finish expected? What are you looking to hit revenue wise?
4. Again, I usually do rolling periods, but if we're talking about January to the end of December 2024, I expect 550,000 in revenue. But again, we only really optimized everything and actually built this model to what it is now, including house cleaning, including being a part of Booking Koala. We really only did that and starting in about April.
Everything since April has been, right after the first quarter, we propelled it very fast. We have to sometimes take a step back and realize what we've done in the past 6-7 months is not really normal, considering we had like the year and change before that as well. So, coming in from April to now it's pretty remarkable.
So 2025 is going to be a great year to see what you guys can handle and do fully from start to finish.
Exactly. Yeah, 2025 is going to be our true first full year session. January 1 to December 31, 2025 will really show us what we can do in a full year at this point. And I genuinely, I have no doubt it'll be at the million mark.
I'm beyond excited for you guys to see what you'll be able to do. And it's all within one location in Maryland, right? You're not in any other states.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we're serving a huge portion of Maryland right now. But to be frank with you, there's also some big portions we haven't gotten to. Southern Maryland, northern, western. There's still some chunks that we haven't gotten to. Now, Maryland's dense, so majority of the population, in the middle of the state here, by Baltimore, by Central Maryland, by DC. But there is certainly room for growth here before we even talk about being out of state or at some point franchising. So yeah, I mean it's just Maryland right now, but it's definitely some room still here.
I love it. You guys said your big metrics and KPI guys. What, besides revenue, what are you guys looking at?
So we're really looking at, it sounds, because it's not really a numbers portion towards money. It's how many jobs a week is each team handling on both sides. So, every time a carpet van hits 15 jobs a week, we know that's the next time to jump into our next van. And we really notice that when it comes into our leads, where we have to turn off our carpet leads almost half the week, every week, just because people don't want to book a carpet cleaning 2 weeks in advance. So it's not really worth having it. But if the fact is we could keep the carpet leads on for that entire week and then book twice as many, gradually rolling, that's why not? We put the money into getting the van and the equipment. We know it's going to come back, and that's the way we compile that. That's how we know it's time to add more carpet vans to the road. With our cleaning teams, it's basically every single time we were hitting 5 more jobs a week, we know it's time to start talking about, let's get another team in. Because not everybody wants 3 jobs a day. Not everybody can do 3 jobs a day. Their cleaning teams, a lot of people were supplementary to their regular existing schedules. So if our goal is to get every single person 1 a day, or some sort of concoction of 5 a week, we know it's time to hire on another cleaning team. And that's kind of how we measure the scaling portions on the metrics.
I would like to add as well the ability for Book and Koala to do some pretty robust reporting also really helps that. Another answer to your question, what else do we track? Our goal in mind right now, we know that we are profitable. Our goal is not to be as profitable as possible right now. It's to grow the company in size as much as possible over time. So scaling is what we have in our mind in the background when we're measuring when is it time to bring on a new team, when is it time to increase our marketing budget, and Book and Koala's reporting functions being able to show us exactly what the average revenue per job is, the average number of jobs in a period of time. All that's very helpful because that basically tells us it's time to pull the trigger on a new team. Let's get somebody in here, and that controls, our hiring budget, marketing budget, everything, so it's been great.
What are some strategies you guys use to manage and mitigate risk?
Well, number one, it's important to have everything set up in the background correctly before you do anything. And what I mean is don't sway from your standards. That's what we've done. So whether it be, insurance policy requirements, contractor insurance requirements, training, experience levels of hires, whatever it may be, we chose a business that inherently has a decent amount of risk. Everything you're cleaning every day has value. Things can break, things can, and even aside from the physical work, there's your reputation is always up in the air. It's always at risk. And every job that you do, you have to impress, you have to take care of people, treat customers the right way. And I would say, to be frank with you, the one thing that we've done to mitigate risk is to create rules of thumb that we do not change. We don't alter them. We stick with it. This is how you treat a customer when X, Y, or Z happens. This is how you handle a situation when X, Y, or Z happens. And we do it in a way that makes sure that that customers know that we're always doing right by them, and in a way that makes sure that our cleaners know that we always treat them right. And you do that the right way, and you really mitigate most of the risk that can come your way. And then the small things that we're talking about, risk wise, damaging items, things like that. Working on brand new properties with expensive things, it's all part of the game. If you handle them the right way, it's fine.
Yeah, on the same note there, you just basically pre-qualify every single thing that you get. There are some things that you can't when it comes to budgets, marketing budgets, how fast can we get more jobs? You can't pre-qualify something like that. But every process, every customer, every team member that we have, we basically spell out every single problem we've had in the past to let them know, like, this is what we expect because we've had this happen. I think that for our team alone has taken out so many of the risk factors because we've told them, when we go and talk to them, when we meet them the first time, it's our customers will take their finger and they will go across it and then just show us a black finger, and they'll, it's a dust thing. They're so particular. And I'm telling you this so in the future that every single component matters on these cleanings. And these are the most high stress areas where we get the most callbacks on. And that's a way for the team to mitigate their own risk. And the same thing we do with the intake on the phone calls. We build the phone call out around, we just want to be transparent in the beginning. There's a couple differences between general house cleaning and traditional maid services. And then I will go into as much detail about the differences as possible. And as long as I feel like we are on the same page, I'm very confident every time that, we are going to do the job that we set out to do. So no matter how long it takes, because it does take a while, it's worth it in the end.
Where do you guys see your business in the next 5 to 10 years?
At least regional. We certainly have our eyes on franchising as soon as we can, which, to be frank with you, we could do at really any point coming up soon. But, we'd like to have some other metrics in place first, our own goals. But, we're certainly going to be franchising, probably beginning sometime this coming year. From there, it's at least regional. I mean, 5 to 10 years, hopefully somewhere national. But we certainly have had interest in the business, whether it be from the investor standpoint or individual folks asking if we're ever going to franchise, things like that, and certainly the next step. So, judging from that, being at least regional would be my goal.
And we both share these. We talk about them almost daily, looking at this 5-10 year plan, where we want to be at. And we're both very much aligned on the same page. We want the same things, which is great to have in a partnership where we're looking to end up in that same goal, which ultimately is franchising.
I mean, you have to be aligned. If you're not aligned, then these goals are just wishes at that point. They're goals if everybody's aligned and pushing towards the end result, which for you guys is that franchising. Going towards
absolutely.
The technology side of things, what role or how big of a role does tech play in your business ops?
The main role, most of it. We really, from the beginning, we didn't want to do anything on pen and paper. We wanted to be as automated as possible, as advanced as possible. Technology plays a huge role in what we do. Aside from engaging with people, we have 99% of all of our systems automated, reported on, measurable, and we've got a few pieces of software out there that that we really love. Booking Koala being absolutely at the forefront. Technology is certainly a huge part of our business.
And what drew you into using Booking Koala when you found it?
Well, to be frank with you, we were using other ones. We've tried a couple. We've tried a couple booking software, CRMs, et cetera, et cetera. And we came across you during a search. We came across Booking Koala during a search and online, and started reading over some of the features and just thought, man, whether it be from the round robin booking feature, allowing contractors to accept or decline jobs, automatic acceptance for in-house folks. I mean, it really aligned with our model that we were looking to do. So, we had this image of what we wanted the business to be, and Booking Koala just seamlessly fit into the model. It had everything that we needed and more. Yeah, so we certainly have tried others in the past, and it's just the robust functionality is just far surpasses them with Booking Koala.
And it's not like it's a white label software, but we feel like we've been able to literally customize it the exact way that made us scale the way that we did so quickly. It took we spent a long time as we were switching from those other softwares to Booking Koala, doing all the research about how the software works, the ins and the outs, literally everything about it, but being able to customize it the exact way that we needed to was crucial, to be honest. And it took a little bit, but it was worth it in the end.
I will admit it does take a while, especially now, 7-8 years later after being released. We constantly add new features and settings, and like you said, it's not white label, but you can get it almost as close as you can with all those features, all the settings. It does take a little bit of a learning curve, which we are working on getting that shrunken down. So, but we love to hear that you took the time to figure out all those features, all the settings, and make it work for you and your business.
I think it's the most customizable thing out there that you could possibly manage a service business with. I mean, you can customize everything from the words that are being texted and emailed to customers to how people accept bookings, how the schedule works. I mean, it's, again, I genuinely don't think we'd be where we are if we had anything else running our bookings. I would say, if anyone's debating about it out there, do it. Please do it. It makes things better. It really does. And it's very important to learn the software and all of its capabilities, because if you have somebody else who's used it, who maybe does it for you or, gives you pointers, just take the time to learn it. Change a setting, send a test message, do a test booking, whatever it may be, but learn it, because I mean, the number of features are I am so thankful that I learned the software front to back, and that we took the time to do it, because now, I mean, anything that needs to be changed at any moment, we just go in, it takes 2 seconds, and everything is so customizable.
Love it. Last few questions here. What is one feature in the software that you couldn't live without? And I'm going to take away the entire booking portion, the scheduling portion.
One feature that I think that is most important to us, aside from booking and scheduling features, one of the things that's most important to us is actually the hiring and provider end of things. We could bring on someone right now with no experience of using the software, no experience of, looking at scheduling, and everything from the hiring funnel to them getting their schedule emailed to them every night at 7 p.m. to being able to see all the details and customize those details for them, for your employees or for your contractors, is unreal. And specifically the hiring portion, I think, has been absolutely invaluable for us. I mean, it really streamlines the process. And, when you don't have to go anywhere else to see your pipeline of potential hires, let alone every detail about them and the forms that they filled out and everything, we certainly have not seen any software that has the kind of hiring functionality that Booking Call has.
I would also say kind of somewhere in between the hiring process and the scheduling would just be like the overall contractor integration on the app. Everything is spelled out so clearly for us and the contractors, keeping us on the same page with whether it's outlining exactly what a job entails, having them be able to see the notification, the email, the text all through without having to talk to them, just pressing a button, be like send invitation, assigning people directly. A lot of our entries are manual. We don't have time to call every single cleaner during the day, explain a job to them, give them a price that it's going to pay, and then, kind of go down the line with availability. This way, we know all of our contractor schedules. It's embedded. We can just send a blanket invitation to the specific people we want for the jobs. Whoever takes it first gets it. But it outlines exactly the special notes, how large the houses are, what it entails. And I haven't seen anything else on the market that even holds a candle to it. It's insane. It's having our contractors able to have an account and have that much access, and they never have issues with it. We never get, I don't understand it, I can't work with it. It's made the process of working with the contractors so easy that would probably be my favorite part about it.
I love to hear it. What's one feature you wish you had and why?
I think it would be having an in-house CRM built into Booking Koala, to be honest. Just to kind of keep our prospect funnels, and I'm going to say this is for completely customer facing, just something to integrate all of our customers and the sales cycle, kind of how it goes when, it integrates with our phone lines, automatically populates, and, an easy way to keep track of it inside of Booking Koala. We obviously use something outside of it, but that would probably be one of the only things I could think of.
Yeah, maybe just individual CRM functionality, like being able to send an individual email to a completely custom, just integrating, things like that. But and other than that, I there's not much missing.
Love it. Love it. Final question here. Completely kind of different than everything else. What's advice that you would give to your 10-year-old selves playing on the playground based on your experiences throughout life so far? Doesn't have to be business related.
Do it in unison. Yeah.
Yeah. It's we've talked about it. It comes up a lot that, we're both, so I'm 28 years old. Dan's over here about to turn 30 in about a week. We just wish we would have did it right out of high school. All of the bad decisions, mistakes you're going to make, it doesn't matter how much experience you have behind it. College isn't going to tell you how to be a good business owner. It might have a textbook on best practices, but until you know how to implement them individually, you have to make those mistakes. And if we could have made them 10 years ago today, we'd be in a much different spot here. But It's better late than never. It's really just, we wish we could have started right out of the gate there, because there's no book that would have taught you how to do it. It's all self-learned.
Yeah, I would say that, whether you're talking about business or anything else, you're never going to be more proud than you are of the things that you do for yourself. And whether it's business, getting out of that job that you don't like and doing something on your own, and it doesn't matter if you want to build something small or build something that ends up franchising. It doesn't matter either way. But one thing I would tell my 10-year-old self is that you will never be more proud of something than, when you build something on your own for yourself.
Love it. Great answers. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story about your business, about your lives, and letting us in on how you guys did it. It was truly a pleasure to talk with you guys today.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it, Michael. You guys have been just a pleasure to work with. I am incredibly thankful that we utilize your software on a daily basis. We genuinely wouldn't be at this spot without it. So, thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we've had a great time here. Sometimes it's honestly just really nice to be able to talk about how you got somewhere, because, being in this line of business, it's easy to get caught up in it and not realize you're doing something that not a lot of people get a chance to do or are successful at. So it's nice to kind of take a step back and look at everything that we've done to this point.
Absolutely. Stay tuned next time for another episode of the Qualified Podcast.